Hello and welcome to the Vibe of the 3 and 5 podcast. I'm Cam.
And I'm Emily. And this episode is just going to be all about Syracuse basketball. It's literally the only topic we're covering, but we're going to start the episode off by reviewing Syracuse's recent games. So, first, let's talk about the Syracuse versus Pitt game, where Syracuse lost, surprise, surprise. The final score was 99-82. The player of the game was Benny Williams, surprisingly. He had 24 points, 9 rebounds, and he played 34 minutes. Had to have been the best we've ever seen Benny play ever.
Yeah, exactly. It was very shocking to see him play that well. Some other key contributors from that game were Joe Girard. He had 19 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds in 38 minutes. Jesse Edwards had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 blocks in 34 minutes. And Judah Mintz had 16 points, 6 assists, 2 rebounds in 36 minutes. So overall, our guys played pretty well. I know it was a more difficult game for Judah. The crowd was really getting into him because he was a Pitt commit and then decommitted, so they were heckling him, so it must have been really difficult for him. But glad he was still able to put up 16 points and 6 assists against his former commit.
Yeah. Some other player stats. Quadir Copeland had 6 points, 3 rebounds, and played 23 minutes. He's been playing a lot more. Not really sure why, but other
It's
notes from the
interesting.
game. Yeah, Justin Taylor and Benny Williams started this game over Chris Bell and Malik Brown, so that was definitely a big change I did not expect.
Yeah, exactly. I could see Benny, but I didn't really understand why Justin started. But
Yeah.
Coach Boeheim was asked after the game if Bell was available. He had a wrap on his hand during the game, and Coach Boeheim said that he was not injured, so Bell was available to play. Another thing is that Malik Brown received limited minutes. He only played 6 minutes, which was very, very weird. And we were losing by so much that the walk-ons saw some playing time. So, it's really bad when the walk-ons are in when we're losing by so much.
Yeah, seems like they've gotten quite a bit of playing time recently.
Yeah, literally.
Syracuse's latest game was against Georgia Tech. Syracuse lost, and the final score was 96-76. Syracuse is now 16-14 and 9-10 in ACC play, so their record is not too great, unfortunately.
The player of the game was a huge shocker. It was Judah Mintz. I mean, whoop-de-doo, like, wow, so shocking. Carrying the team like always.
Yep,
He had
as usual.
23 points, 7 assists, 2 rebounds, and played 38 minutes. So Judah continuing his great freshman season. Some other
Yep.
key contributors from that game, Jesse Edwards had 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 blocks in 34 minutes. So Jesse seemed to figure it out, but he didn't have a double-double, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Other players' stats, Joe Girard had 11 points, 2 rebounds, 33 minutes. So a little bit of a slow game for him. We usually see Joe score a lot more. Benny Williams also had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and he played 30 minutes, which isn't too bad. It's good to see Benny seems to be playing a little bit better, so we're glad to see that. And Malik Brown had 5 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, and played 19 minutes. So not too much from him, but it is what it is.
Yeah, one thing I want to say about Joe is that he struggles when there's a bigger defender on him, and I know this game he was guarded by like a 6'5" guy, and he just has trouble against that. I mean, he's playing the two at 6'1". He's gonna have
Yeah.
trouble with that, getting a shot off. So I think that's why Joe had a slow game because his defender was pretty tall compared to him. So unfortunate to
Yep.
see. But that's what happens when you run a 6'1" dude at the shooting guard. You're gonna get 6'5", 6'6" guys guarding him. Some notes from
Right.
this game is that the same starters from the Pitt game started this game, so Taylor and Benny were in for Bell and Brown. Chris Bell did not play again, and this time when Boeheim was questioned about it, he said that he was going to start, but the day before in practice, he didn't do anything for about 6 plays in a row, so that's why he didn't play. So seems like Boeheim's given out some punishment for the lacks of play and practice, which is honestly good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, maybe if he's a little bit harder on the guys, it will give them incentive to really give their 100% and try a little bit harder on the court.
Exactly.
Shockingly, we tried man-to-man defense this game. Absolutely crazy because we never do that. I remember Cam texted me saying we're playing man-to-man. I was blown away. But sadly, that still really didn't help us because we still lost by 20 points. But we tried a 3-guard lineup, which was Samir, Judah, Joe, Jesse, and Benny. So that was interesting. And walk-ons played again since we were losing so much. So Nico Ruffins and Anthony Clayton both had 2 points apiece. So that's pretty cool for them.
Yeah, I mean, congrats to the walk-ons. They're getting some playing time, but really, we don't want to be seeing them out there. It means it's not good.
Yeah.
Syracuse has one remaining game in the regular season. It's versus Wake Forest, and it's happening the day that this podcast is being uploaded before the ACC tournament. And as it stands right now, we'd be playing Wake Forest in the ACC tournament, and that could always change. The bracket could always change depending on who wins and who loses. So be on the lookout for who we're playing and probably losing to in the ACC tournament this year.
Mm-hmm. So some new Syracuse basketball news. John Volajak just announced that he is once again entering the transfer portal after the season. So best of luck to Bull. He did this last year, ended up coming back to Cuse. I don't think that will be the case this year, but we'll see where he ends up going.
Yep, so we won't be seeing him next year. And I also saw that he's being honored as a senior for Senior Day. So it's like official, like he's not coming back. Like we're honoring
Yeah.
him as a senior for Senior Day, so he's definitely going somewhere else. So we'll see where he goes.
Yeah.
Best of luck to him, but for in the future, he's not going to be on Syracuse. All right, for the second half of the podcast, we're going to be doing segment. It's the real truth about Syracuse basketball. So we're just going to dive deep into everything about Syracuse basketball. What's right with the program, which is not much. What's wrong with the program, which is a lot. And just go over the future of Syracuse basketball and what it's looking like, because it's not looking too good as of right now.
Yeah.
So, Emal, we're going to start off with the coaches. So why don't we talk about, of course, the head coach, Jim Boeheim.
Yep. So we know Jim Boeheim has been here coaching for a long, long time, 47 years as head coach. And he was a former Syracuse basketball walk-on. So, he played at Syracuse like the rest of the coaches. And in his 47 years as head coach, we've only seen one NCAA national championship, which was obviously in 2003 when we had Carmelo that one year. So
Exactly. So that's Boeheim. I know it's been a big controversy whether he should retire or stay or what's going to happen. We'll get into that in a little bit, but for now we'll talk about the assistant coaches, starting with Coach. Oh, I'm skipping one. Sorry, Coach Red Autry, aka Adrian Autry. So he played at Syracuse. He is the current associate head coach. So he's Boeheim's right-hand man. He has been an assistant since the 2011-2012 season. He was promoted to associate head coach in 2017 after Coach Hopkins left. He coaches forwards mainly, and he recruits all positions. So Coach Red is our big recruiter coach. Whenever we have a recruit in, it seems like he's the one that's done everything. So overall, Coach Red is a really big part of who we get into Syracuse. The next coach. Oh, Ema, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something?
Oh, I was just going to say, it seems like he's one of the coaches that really does a lot for the program like that. Exactly. Seems like he does most, if not all, of the recruiting. And, he actually coaches the guys in practice and stuff. So I think he's a really good coach and definitely a big part of the program.
Definitely, 100%. The next coach we're going to talk about is
Jerry McNamara, so G-Mac. He also played for Syracuse, and he is the career three-point holder at Syracuse. So he was definitely really good when he played for us. He played in the NBA, so that's cool. And he has been an assistant coach since 2011-2012 season. So he works with and recruits guards, but we have a weakness with forwards, and we always struggle with that.
Yeah, he recruits mainly guards and works with guards because that's what he played in when he was playing. So it seems like he has a real difficulty with coaching or recruiting forwards, which is a problem. I know that Red coaches the forwards mainly, but if we have assistant coaches, they should be able to coach anybody and everybody. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a weakness with forwards for GMAC. The next coach is Alan Griffin. He has been an assistant since 2017 when Hopkins left. So Autry took Hopkins' place, and then we hired Alan Griffin. He works primarily with centers. He was a point guard in college, so it's a bit interesting that he works with centers. I mean, why can't we hire a former center that can coach the centers? And he, quote unquote, and I say quote unquote because I don't know how much he really does, he quote unquote helps with recruiting and he does the opponent scouting. So it seems like Coach Griff is, I don't know, a bit out of place working with the centers, but he was a point guard in college, so a bit interesting there.
Mm-hmm.
The next slide we're going to talk about is the current coaches overview. So Emal, why don't we go over this?
So all the current coaches played the guard position in college, and they all played at Syracuse. And we have people that played guard coaching centers. Why can't and why don't we hire a former center to coach the centers? Because it always seems like the centers, struggle a little bit the first couple of years, definitely get better and develop. But, maybe if they had a center coaching them, they could be a little bit better, their first or second year. And a lot of the coach's
Exactly.
family has come to play at Syracuse, which we find very interesting. And examples of that is Adrian Autry Jr., Jimmy and Buddy Boeheim, of course, and Nick Giancola. He was a walk-on. I don't know if many people know this, but he's actually Jim Boeheim's nephew. So there's a lot of family that has played there at Syracuse, which is just really interesting. So
Definitely. I know like a lot of schools, for example, like Coach K, when he was coaching, his son was like, or I'm sorry, his grandson was like a walk-on at Duke. But like Jimmy and Buddy, like were like big players for us. So it's just interesting. Like I understand if your kid comes to school where you're coaching, but it seems like there was a lot of favoritism when there's family on the team.
yeah.
So let's go over some old coaches. So before the current coaches, we had the best years under Boeheim. So we had Mike Hopkins, who's the current coach of Washington, Rob Murphy, who is a current assistant GM of the Detroit Pistons, and Bernie Fine, which we won't talk about that one. Could we see a reunion with Coach Hopkins once Boeheim retires? In my opinion, I think that's probably the best scenario. I think Coach Hopkins definitely deserves a starting or a head coaching job at Syracuse. He was here for so long before he took the job at Washington. Going over Washington a little bit, they're currently 16-13, eighth overall in their conference. So they're doing okay, not great, not horrible, but it's not like he's coaching some amazing, spectacular team. If we
Right.
don't hire, I personally think Autry would be the pick over GMAC. Like we said, Autry's a good recruiter, good developing the guys. I just don't personally believe in GMAC as a head coach. I think he is more of an assistant. Um, and personally, I think that the either option would be terrible for the program, but Autry would be better. So either way, Autry or GMAC, I don't think it would be good. But if I would have had to pick, I would pick Autry. And ultimately, we need to hire a new coach if Boeheim retires, whether it's Mike Hopkins or someone else. We need to hire because it would be the best case scenario for the program.
Yeah, I agree. Like that, we need some new perspective, maybe different coaching styles, try different techniques and stuff, and see how it could help
Exactly.
the program.
And like that, when Hopkins was here as an assistant, we had our best years. We could always see a
Right.
reunion with him. I really hope that that's the case. He's a great coach. Definitely proved himself at Washington. He's had a couple of great guys go to the NBA, such as Isaiah Stewart. So hopefully he can come back here.
hmm Some possible coaches in the future we can think of. There are some really good former Syracuse players that we think could make really good coaches. One, I think, is pretty obvious. Carmelo Anthony. It's probably unlikely, but he would really be a great coach. Would love to see him back at Syracuse. And like that, his son, Kyan Anthony, class of 2025, I believe,
Yeah.
Syracuse is recruiting. I would love to see him come here and play, and maybe his dad could coach also. That would be really cool, but we'll see what happens. Another one, Eric Devendorf, he coaches kids currently, and he definitely knows a lot about the college game. He played in college. He's been on Boeheim's Army a lot. He was on the team when they won, and now he coaches that. He just has tons of really great coaching experience that I think could help Syracuse players a lot. And another one, current Syracuse player, Symir Torrance, he seems to be a really big mentor on the team for a lot of the younger guys. And he is always giving guys tips on the sidelines during the game. He's a great leader. He hypes the players up. Just overall, really good guy. And he would definitely make a good coach here, I think.
Definitely agree. Like that, we said Carmelo's highly unlikely like that. I'd love to see him coaching, but I don't know, maybe a little bit down the line, maybe he needs a few more years. Who knows? But those are some guys that we think could be really good coaches for us in the future. All right, let's talk about 2-3 zone defense. So Syracuse staple.
Yeah.
So some pros is that it's less physically demanding, gives the team more energy when playing offense, and it gives the players a better view of the ball movement. So the way we play zone is we have our wings very high to protect the 3-point shot. But in reality, when our wings are so high, it leaves the corner 3 open. And that's what kills us, because if our forward is so high, then they can pass it to the corner, and then our guy has to frantically run over there and try to guard that, and they can just pass it back to the person that they received the pass from and shoot a wide open 3. So pretty much we're giving them the other team wide open 3s no matter what. So cons allows the opposing team to have good outside shooting, so 3-pointers like I just mentioned. And because of the open areas on the perimeter, especially the way we play it, with the forwards being so high on the wings, it, like I just said, it really gives us an issue. So overall, I know we've been playing zone defense for so long, but it really doesn't seem to work anymore. It seems like teams have really figured out how to combat the zone.
Mm-hmm.
So here are a look
And
at some other zone defenses. So Ema, why don't we get into looking at these different ones?
so like that, there are tons of different zone defenses, as you can see. Syracuse could try 1-2-2 defense instead of 2-3. With the 1-2-2, defense has the advantage of being able to pressure the ball on the outside arc, and it allows for some trapping of the ball and can be effective against a good outside shooting team, which obviously we struggle with the opposing teams shooting tons of threes. But Syracuse always seems to stick with the 2-3, which is a better option for inside scoring and dribble penetration. But like that, maybe depending on the team we're playing, Syracuse could possibly adapt what zone defense they use instead of just always using the 2-3.
Or we could just start using man. I mean, that's always an option too, Boeheim. I mean, come
Yeah,
on, like we don't always have to use zone. We could use some man too, like we saw in the Georgia Tech game. So I don't know what our infatuation with zone is, but
yeah,
we need to switch it up somehow. Um, also on another defensive note, our pressing is terrible too. I mean, it's
yeah.
literally horrible. It's supposed to create turnovers, and it never does. All it does is speed up the game for both teams. We've been pressing a lot recently, and I really think that's why Quadir Copeland has been playing more minutes. He seems to be quote unquote good in the press, so I think that's why he's been playing a little bit more when we press.
Yeah.
And Syracuse really struggles defensively, and I believe that the zone defense has a lot to do with this. Shooters for the other team are left wide open. But Coach Boeheim said previously, before the Georgia Tech game, he said, we've tried man-to-man, and it doesn't work for us. Not really sure why the players can't adapt to it and develop the skills to improve the defense. But, I mean, it's man-to-man. I mean, how difficult can it really be? I mean, you pick a man and you guard him. It's not that difficult.
Exactly.
Boeheim said, we've tried to work on our man in the summer and the fall, and it just doesn't work for us, which it literally makes no sense because every other school in the country can figure out man-to-man defense. And we're over here in Central New York and Syracuse, and we can't figure out man-to-man defense. It's simple. Listen, if you're a Syracuse basketball player, listen right now. You pick a man and you guard him. It's not difficult. You pick a person and you guard him. You try to not let him score. That is how you play man-to-man defense. Plain out, period, simple. That's it. You pick a man and you guard him. How
And
difficult
like
is that? I
that.
mean, it drives me crazy. I mean, it's ridiculous.
And with Syracuse, it always seems like when I'm watching a game, the other teams are always like more aggressive with defense. Like you literally see them like touching and trying to like push them away, like when they're trying to shoot. And really the only time Syracuse players, get fouls called on them is when like Jesse is like doing a block or something and his arm will hit him or whatever. It's usually like the centers or forwards, but it's just crazy. And like that in the Georgia Tech post-game press conference, Boeheim said, they've been working on defense, trying different stuff like the man-to-man. And he says sometime throughout the season, it's literally just gotten worse. Our defense has gotten worse. He doesn't know why. He doesn't know how. They're working to get it better, but they're just moving in the complete opposite direction. And I can't seem to understand why. I don't think anyone can. But
And like that
something,
against Clemson, they were like, yeah, like this is so easy. It's so easy to shoot. Like
yeah,
how like come on, your job on defense is to make it difficult. Like our
exactly.
guys are not aggressive defensively whatsoever. And another thing I wanted to mention, this isn't necessarily on the topic of defense, it's not on the script either, but I wanted to mention this too. All right, so for example, we'll say that Joe is at the free throw line. Boeheim does not put people at the free throw line to rebound if there is a miss. And that also drives
Right.
me nuts too. I mean, yeah, for example, Joe is a good free throw shooter. But what if he misses? The other team has four guys up there and we don't have anybody. So if Joe misses or whoever misses, it's an automatic rebound for the other team. I mean, come on, put guys at the free throw line to try to get a rebound. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
difference between winning and losing a game at some points. Like, there's games that we've lost by like 1 point. And if we had a guy at the free throw line trying to rebound after the shot and we miss, that could have been the game. Like, put guys at the free throw line. That's why it's a rule. That's why it's implemented. So you could have people potentially rebounding. And like that, what's the
Exactly.
worst that's going to happen? You don't get the rebound? Okay, then you hustle back on defense. But you need to put people at the free throw line. It's ridiculous. It drives me nuts. I mean, just half of the things watching this team play, it drives me crazy because I'm like, what are they doing? I mean, a fifth grade boys basketball team puts people at the free throw line in case they miss. And Syracuse, a college that is known for basketball, can't put people at the free throw line trying to rebound. I mean, what are you doing? It's ridiculous.
Absolutely crazy. It's just little
Moving
things like
on.
that too that could win you the
Exactly.
game and wouldn't be too difficult to implement that we just don't do. And
Exactly.
it's like it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. And it makes me so mad. It's so frustrating. It's literally painful to watch them play because of what they do out there. But moving
Yeah.
on, we're going to talk about Daddy Adam Weitzman. So, since NIL is now legal, it's a big part of one's recruiting process. Adam Weitzman has offered guys such as Elijah Moore six-figure NIL contracts to come to Syracuse, which he took. That's just one example. And it seems like the only way we'll get good recruits is if they are paid six figures. And then even then, some may choose elsewhere because of the recent downfall of the program. So it's pretty sad that we have to have daddy's money come in and give players money to come here. I mean, we can't get people in here on our own. We can't recruit like we used to. It's
Hmm.
just sad.
Yeah, it just makes me think like if I was some really good 4 or 5 star prospect and Syracuse is recruiting me, like, yeah, the money's nice, but if I really want to make it to the NBA, I think that I would choose a school where I'd actually have good coaching, maybe for my position or whatever it is, and like that, a school with a good program, a good record. Like, why would you come to a school that's not good? It just feels like your talent would be wasted because like that, you're probably not going to win many games. And like that, if you really have basketball dreams and want to get to the NBA, probably a school like Syracuse isn't going to be the best place for you. And it's sad to say, but that's why this program needs a lot of changes and to be rebuilt almost.
Exactly. It seems like ever since Coach Hopkins left, our recruiting has really taken a toll, which is very unfortunate. But like that, a lot of people want to come to college and they want to win a national championship. That's not going to happen at Syracuse, so a lot of guys probably won't end up coming here. It's sad, but it's the truth, and it's
I don't
something needs
blame
to
them.
change. Exactly. Yeah, I don't either. If I was to say, okay, well, you can get $1 million now and come to Syracuse, or you could go to a school like Kansas or Duke and be good in college and win a national championship and then be a high pick in the NBA draft. Yeah, I'd pick that because that'd be way better for your career. So
If you
I
think
really
long
won't blame
term,
these
definitely.
guys. Like
And
that.
another thing I wanted to say
No,
is,
go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, but
No, you're doing
how
good.
do these like Adam Weissman NAL deals work? Like, I know
Exactly.
Elijah Moore came here. So is he going to get the $1 million like now, like when he agrees to come here? Or is it like you come here, you play 4 years at Syracuse, and then you get your million? Or, does he get the money now and maybe in a year or two he wants to transfer? Like, what happens with that? Like, it'd be interesting to know like the details of this because,
Exactly.
I'd like to know, does he plan on being here 4 years? Like, is that in the contract? I know like that stuff's more private, but like
Yeah,
I
I'd
feel
like
like the
to know.
fans should know
I'd like to know the
some details,
logistics of it, and we probably never will. But
right?
like that, you should say how it works. So even if you're not disclosing the dollar amount, you could say, "This is how the contract system works," and not disclose the dollar amount. Like, just tell us how it works, so we know
Yeah,
if we're getting a prospect, if they're staying 1 year or 4 years. Like, we need to
right.
know because that will ultimately affect our recruiting in the future as well, whether a prospect is staying 1 year or
Exactly.
4 years. And another thing I wanted to mention is that Marcus Adams recently announced his top three, which is Syracuse, UCLA, and what was the other school? There was one other
Kansas.
school, Kansas. Yep, thank you.
Hmm.
I don't know why he put Syracuse on his top three. I really don't. I mean, you're getting Kansas and UCLA offers. I think Syracuse is just a petty to put on there as just to say the third school. I
Yeah,
think it's pretty obvious that he's not going to come here. I mean, I don't know
I
why he's
wouldn't.
putting Syracuse even on his top three. It's sad, but it's true. Like, these guys aren't going to come here, and we get all of our hopes up for pretty much nothing. I mean, he hasn't even announced his decision yet, but I just know that he's not going to come here. So
Hmm.
really, the program is looking very dark. It's not looking good at all, and it's really sad.
And like that, it seems like all the times when the guys come for like visits and stuff and like see a game played in the dome, like a lot of the guys came to the Duke game. Who would sit there, watch them lose by 20, watch them, not put people at the free throw line, playing zone defense? Why would they be like, I'd be like, this is a mess. Like, I don't
Exactly.
want to play here. Like, this is
It's a
just
dysfunction. It's a
horrifying.
dysfunctional program. Literally
Yeah.
dysfunctional. All right, Ema, let's
Yes.
talk about recruiting.
So, like we've mentioned before, the recruiting has seemed to get worse and worse by the year. And yes, we've had three 4-star recruits this year, but for next year we only have one recruit, and I don't believe he even has any stars.
No.
And like that, it could be really bad if we lose guys like Gerard and Edwards. Yes, they could take a 5th year, but honestly, I'm not sure if that will happen. And like that, we can't rely on that because it's their decision ultimately if they want to do that. And
Exactly.
with the events that have happened this year with Benny Williams, we personally think it's likely he will leave. So we'll lose him. And he has been playing better. So, I mean, it would honestly suck to lose him. And like that, if we lost all those guys, who would even start and who would be off the bench? Cam, do you want to go through the possible
Yeah,
starting lineup?
so another thing is that it's not on here, but another thing is it's very likely that we lose Judah Mintz as well, which is sad, breaks my heart to
So sad.
even say that, but it's the reality. I mean, he's been great this year. either NBA draft or transferring. Hopefully he stays. I'm praying that he stays, but it's just the truth that he's likely to leave. So if Judah stayed, the most likely starting lineup next year would be Judah, Justin, Chris Bell, Malik Brown, and Monir Hima. So very different look for us. If Judah left, I don't even know. I don't even begin to know who would start. Probably
That's
Quadier, but that would be literally terrible. We'd literally
if
be
he
probably
even
like
stays.
the worst. We'd probably be literally the worst team in like college basketball, like out of every team. Like I'm serious.
It's
And
scary.
if all these guys left, who would be the bench? Because looking at it right now, we basically have no bench if everybody leaves. I mean, we're losing Bull for sure, possibly Benny, Gerard, Jesse, and Judah. So who would come off the bench? Because our bench players would have to be starters. So who would be off the bench for us? We'd have
Like that.
literally no one.
If Anthony Clayton is coming off the bench, I'm scared. I mean, no
Like
hate to him, but
we'd literally be as good as a SUNY school. Like literally.
yeah,
Like
walk-ons are
it's just
walk-ons for a reason.
exactly. Like we'd have no bench. I understand. Yeah, these guys can play 38 to 40 minutes, but what if Monir Hima gets in foul trouble? We can't be putting out. Okay, Peter Carey, I
We
get
have.
he'll be able to play. We'll have Peter Carey, but like that. What if he and Hima get into foul trouble? What are we gonna do then? Like, what if Judah or Justin gets into foul trouble? What if somebody gets hurt? Like, we don't have a bench. We won't have a bench. Like, what are we doing? We need to look into the transfer portal, and I'm pretty sure that that's the next slide. So let's get into that.
Yeah.
And it is. So I was right. Emo, why don't we talk about the transfer portal?
So like that, if we want any chance at being decent in the future or even winning 10 games next year, we need to be like every other school and get guys from the transfer portal. In the past few years, we have only gotten a few guys. They have been pretty good, but some of the people we've gotten is Alan Griffin, Cole Swider, Jimmy Boeheim, Symir Torrance, and Monir Hima. And
Yeah,
it seems like Syracuse is constantly recruiting players from the East Coast. There's only 2 players on this year's roster that are not from the East Coast, and those players are Chris Bell and walk-on Shane Feldman. So that's interesting.
Yeah, and one thing I want to mention is that when we're saying the East Coast, we mean players that are from the states. Like obviously we have Monir and Jesse that are from overseas, but we're just narrowing it down to like when we recruit players from the states, only
Yeah.
2 guys are not from the East Coast. So just wanted to clear that up. And with the guys that we've gotten from the portal, they've only stayed. They haven't stayed a long time. Alan Griffin was only here for a year. Cole and Jimmy were only here for a year. Symir 2 years, and we'll have to see what Monir how long he's here. But I
Right.
know Cole could have taken another year if he wanted to. Um, just very upsetting. Like we get these guys and they play great for us, and then they end up leaving. I understand that Cole like went to the G League, Jimmy went overseas and everything, but Cole really could have helped us out this year. I mean, if we had Cole and possibly Buddy this year, it would have been crazy for us. Like we would have had actually like a really, really good team. And another
Yeah.
thing is that other teams such as Illinois have mostly portal guys on their team this year, and they are a tournament team. They were ranked earlier in the year. We played them actually early in the year, and we got destroyed by them. So it just shows that the portal really is the way to go now. I mean, it's ever since NIL and the portal came relevant, it's the way to recruit these days. I mean, you need people that are experienced in college basketball to play. I mean, freshmen are good, yes, but they don't know the game like these other people do.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to mention a few things we didn't have on the slides, but it seems like I'd say like the past 5 years and with COVID and everything, just the whole like dynamic and energy of the program has been different. You know, the coaches don't wear suits to the games anymore. They're just in their quarter zips, whatever. But I don't know. I feel like it's game day. Like you want to look good, dress good, feel good. So, you know, win these
Exactly.
games. And we just always see them, in their zip ups and whatnot. And this is always talked about. It's like an all-time low for attendance at the Dome. But like that, when they play so bad and lose by 20 almost every game as of recently, why would people want to go and watch that? Why would you want to pay
Exactly.
$50 to see them lose by 20? I mean, there's really nothing to bring these guys to a game. Obviously, yes, to come support Syracuse, which Syracuse fans, like they always say, are the best fans because, we support them through all the stuff, playing good, playing bad, whatever. Fans are always showing up, but it's always so much different when you have a packed dome, loud crowd. I mean, it can totally change the
It
outcome of the
changes the
game.
game. Exactly. Like that,
Absolutely.
you look back at when John Gillen hit that shot against Duke to win the game. The crowd went crazy. We stormed the court, everything. Like the crowd won us that game. Obviously, John Gillen
Yes.
technically won us the game, but the crowd won us that game. Big games like that, there's a crowd and it affects the opponent. That's what the Dome is known for. And recently, the past few years, it has not been like that at all. The Dome is barely loud. Like our crowd never gets into it. Like we only get into it
Mm-hmm.
when something big happens. Like usually, like when I was like a little kid, the Dome would be so loud, like it would literally hurt my ears at like all times. Like it would hurt my ears like literally so bad. And now it's like nobody even like yells or cheers or anything. Like it's
Yeah.
really bad. And another thing is that I wanted to mention is that along with ever since COVID, it seems really like that the team isn't united. Like they're not close
Yeah.
like they used to be. Like I know, for example, um, like when Elijah Hughes is on the team, like him and Quincy were really close. Like the whole team was really, really close. Like they were all close to each other. They were all good friends. And it seems like this team is, they have their little groups, Samir and Bull. Um, they have their little groups. Like they're not all one unit. They have their own little friend groups. Like they're not
Mm-hmm.
united like they once used to be, which is really
Yeah.
upsetting. It hurts the program and it hurts the team at the end of the day.
And like that, you used to see them. And obviously, some people are more private, so we could be totally wrong about this. But you used to see, them always posting videos on Snapchat and Instagram, having fun, hanging out, at the Mellow Center at 2 in the morning, with their buddies, just
Exactly.
practicing. Don't really see too much of that anymore. It
People used
seems
to go
different.
live on Instagram, like Elijah Hughes used to
Hmm.
go live and like interact with like his friends and fans and his teammates and everything. None of our guys do that anymore.
Yeah.
And if they do, it's very, very rare. I don't know, this the whole dynamic of everything has just changed, like ever since COVID, especially. Like the whole program is just so different now. I understand it's different guys here, but I feel like it should be like somewhat the same, but it's literally nowhere close to being the same. Like everything,
Hmm.
everything is different except Jim Boeheim is still the coach.
Yeah. And one thing I think of is like, a lot of guys used to come here and stay like 3, 4 years. It's like there's so many new guys coming in and out. Like it's difficult to, build relationships and really, really close friendships. Like obviously everyone on the team is friends with each other and stuff, and they all support each other. But it's like it's different if you've known someone for 6 months versus if you've known them for like 3.5, 4 years. Like your relationship will just be so much closer and you'll just know so much more about each other and just have more memories and experiences with each other. And it's like guys constantly coming in and out, leaving. It's just there's not that bond anymore. And I think
Exactly.
that really hurts Syracuse, whether people really think about that or realize it, because it's just totally different.
Like that, I'm thinking back to the 2020 class, like our recruiting class. The guys that guys that came in, it was Alan Griffin, Kadari Richmond, and Woody Newton. They played one season for us and then left. Whether they went
Yep.
to the G League or to the draft or they transferred, they played one season for us and transferred and left. So it's
Yeah.
really bad when we have three guys that come in for 1 year then leave. Like that's not gonna build us a winning program. Like it's just like Emal said, guys are in and out all the time, and it's not good. Because like that,
Exactly.
teams like Duke, for example, they can get away with doing stuff like that. Like that's how their program has been forever. They have
Yeah,
guys and then they leave and they have new guys. That's how they are every year. But our school, Syracuse, is a school where we have the same guys for 3, 4 years in a row. That's how we succeed because our guys develop. That's how we win.
exactly.
That's how we win games. And that's not happening for us. Our guys keep leaving and it's not good.
Yeah.
Like that Buddy, for example, Buddy stayed his 4 years, but he didn't have any help. Yes, he had Cole and Jimmy, but he only had them for one season. I mean, thinking
Hmm.
back, what could have we have done if Buddy had some help, like when we played in 2021, I think it was in the tournament where we went to the Sweet 16. What if Buddy had some help? What if Buddy had
Yep.
help that year? What would we have done? What if we had Cole Swider that year? Like, what would we have done in the tournament? Could we have won it all? Like, you never know. Like, we didn't have any help. It was only Buddy, but like, it's just
Exactly.
upsetting.
And like that, the whole chemistry of the team's different. Like when you play with guys year after year, like you come up with different plays and like you guys can like almost expect, oh, he's going to pass me here. Or, oh, let me set the screen for him so Buddy can
Exactly.
shoot a three or whatever. But it's just hard to adjust constantly to new players because everyone plays different. The team's different every year. And like, especially right now, like there's not too many older guys to lead the team, like we've seen in the past. Like Buddy was a huge leader, and it's just the guys don't stay that long, so they don't have that, and it's kind of sad to see, honestly, in my opinion.
Exactly like that. Most of our guys that play this year are freshmen. Like that, Joe
Hmm.
and Jesse are seniors, but Jim Boeheim has called Benny like so many times. He's saying like Benny is a freshman in my books. Like he didn't play much last year. Like basically Benny's a freshman,
Hmm.
and then we have Chris and Malik and Judah and Justin, all freshmen. Like our team is so young.
Yeah,
It's not the way to go anymore. Like we need older guys. That's how college basketball is these days.
exactly. And if all these freshmen stayed 3, 4 years, I could see the team being good. And
Exactly.
that would be really great to see. But I feel like at least half of them are probably going to transfer after this year. So it's kind
100%
of a
agree.
bummer.
Let's go to the next. Is that the end? Oh, that is the end of
Yeah,
the
I think
slide.
that's the last one. But we just wanted to go through and really get into all the stuff regarding the Syracuse program right now because
Exactly.
they need to make some changes, because I know everyone watching this is probably a Syracuse fan, and no hate to the program. I mean, year after year, we support the players. I mean, we love this team, but we just want them to
Exactly.
win. We want them to do better. We just want the best for the program and everyone involved in it.
Exactly. Like Emal said, no hate to the program. We're just speaking our opinion, and like that, our opinion could be different than what is actually going on. It's just what we believe and what we think should happen. Like that, no hate to the program, but we're just we
Mm-hmm.
want Syracuse to be a winning program. So we're
Exactly.
trying to bring light to what's happening. That's pretty much it for this episode. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. I know it was a different type of episode this week. Be on the lookout. There'll be a normal weekly episode. Tentatively, that's what we're planning for next week. So be on the lookout for that. There'll also be an interview going up sometime this week. So be
Mm-hmm.
on the lookout for that. Emal, do you have anything to add?
Nope, just appreciate you guys for watching. Follow our other social medias. That's all I
Yeah.
got to say.
Hopefully, something can be figured out in the Syracuse basketball program.
Yeah.
Hopefully they win against Wake Forest. Not really promise. I'm not really counting
Mm-hmm.
on it, but we'll see.
I mean, it'd
And
be cool if they did. It's like a big game because I
exactly,
know they're retiring jerseys. They, have members of the '03 winning team there. So, maybe a packed dome and that energy could help them win, but we'll see what happens.
and it's senior day too, so that's a big game too.
A lot of emotions.
Exactly. Well, other than that, that's pretty much it for this episode. So we're out. Peace.